Steel boots stomping, crashing the floor. Two wild Yinzers kicking through the door. Loud like a jag-off at a pins game fight. Brace yourself, this ride ain't polite. Two dumb Yinzers, loud and proud. Heads in the clouds, voices in the crowd. Chaos brewing, they don't play nice. Hold on to your iron and grab your prime anti-slice. Tales from the burg with a hint of mayhem. Pierogi powered, nothing can constrain them. Knocking back stories like an icy cold brew. You never know what these two might spew. Two dumb Yinzers, loud and proud. Heads in the clouds, voices in the crowd. Chaos brewing, they don't play nice. Hold on to your iron and grab your prime anti-slice.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, welcome back to the show. This is episode 725.
Woo!
Of the Two Dumb Yinzers. I'd like to say to everybody this morning, welcome back. Big day, big week, big everything. How you doing today, Mike?
I'm doing great, man. My lord, man, we were coming in with no issues, Ryan. I'm loving it.
Yeah,
we got a lot of Steelers to talk about. We got Pirates, Penguins, sports all over the place, man. I'm fired up, buddy.
Yeah, a lot going on. We do got a lot to talk about today, Mike, and I'm on a new system.
Yes.
And this is actually really, really good news. I'm just trying to get some things into place here because I'm not up to date with my new system.
Right.
But I got to be honest, Mike. This is it's a good system. We are on the right page. There was a lot of issues with our computers and such that we were using, and now that we fixed that problem, things should in theory be a lot better, Mike. So I stick around, everybody. I think that you're going to enjoy it, but also from you, Mike, I also do need you to, if you hear anything odd, out of place, anything sounds like it shouldn't be, let me know throughout the course of the show. We will fix it. But guys, we are back. We're back. We had a little hiatus at the end of the week last week due to some problems in our system, but we fixed it, guys. We're back. This is the Two Dumb Yinzers. This is episode 725, Mike. What can I say?
Oh, man. Who would have thought after 725 episodes, I think we got it dialed in.
Yeah.
They were not bad for two middle-aged guys, figuring out technology.
No,
not
bad at all, man. And as I said, we're trying to work out the kinks here. Things are going so far so good. I have no complaints.
Yeah.
Just trying to do a couple of things here around the studio while we do get set up here for today's show. We did, Mike, a lot of things went down over the weekend. I was going to say that it was almost an Owen weekend, but the Penguins, they won on Friday night. They beat the Devils 4-2. So at least one of our teams managed to pluck a win out of this weekend at some point, Mike. We had the Pirates. They go 0-3. They get swept by the Reds. The Penguins go 1-1. Even the Charleston Battery, they beat the Hounds 2-1, Mike. So it was not a great week for sports in Pittsburgh. Nonetheless, we are back. We're back, everybody. I do want to welcome Jen. I do want to welcome Tortilla. Welcome back. I can't be more excited to see you guys. I'm going to be honest. Having that little extra time off, it gets to me. I love doing this. I love what we do, and not having the ability to be able to do what it is that we want to do is really frustrating. So, I do want to say thank you for sticking it out with us. Thank you for your patience, and all the support as well. We did hear from a lot of people during the time off, and really great to hear from everybody. So thank you, everybody. We are back. We're back. We're back forever. We're never going anywhere again. We're going to be making payments on our new computer system until 2029. So we have no choice. We're not going anywhere.
No choice. No, we have to get our money's worth out of it.
Absolutely, man. Let's do. We've got a couple things going on over here, Mike. If you want to steal this show for a minute or two to get us started, we got a lot to go over. So go ahead and steal the show for a moment so I can get set up on my end here.
All right, I'm going to steal the show, and I'm going to do a plug for me and Derpy, what we did over the weekend. A couple people tuned in on the live chat, a couple people tuned in, or just on and off. Derpy and I did a mock draft And speaking of the draft, I can't wait. It's what a week away. It feels like, or about 10 days away, Ryan. I forget what
Yeah,
it is.
10
Yeah,
days.
yeah, 10 days. So I can't wait. I will be doing a live reaction to the first round. So if you want to come in, check that out next Thursday, man. I'll be here, first round coverage. Maybe by then we'll know who our quarterback is. Will it be Aaron Rodgers? Will it be Mason Rudolph? Will it be Jackson Dart? Will it be Shador Sanders? Will it be Jalen Milroe in 3 years? So, a lot of fun stuff coming down, man. This is like my favorite time of the year. I enjoy the offseason more than I do the regular season because right here, there's no tangible results in the win-loss record, so I'm not stressing. And this is the fun time of the year where you have to figure out what's a rumor designed to tank someone's draft stock so a team can get that guy, and what's an actual rumor that is actually true about a prospect that is finally now coming out. So it's my favorite time of the year. I don't know about you, Ryan, but I love it. I love the games too, but off season, man, that's where you can win or lose a championship.
Absolutely, man. There is, yeah. Well, you know what? There's a lot of things to go over, Mike. And again, we're 10 days away. We're 10 days away from the draft. It's even actually unbelievable that it's only 10 days away. Next Thursday starts the draft, and it goes into the weekend.
10 days, 8 hours.
I want to say this, Mike. I want to rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
Hey, happy morning, Richard. How you doing today, sir? Mike, I just want to talk about the mock draft that you and Derpy did on Saturday night. I got to be honest with you. I knew you guys were going to get together. He's been talking about it for a while. I'm not necessarily a mock draft kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I watched it. I was like, all right, this is going to be good. Let's turn it on and see what Derpy and Mike has going on over there. And it seemed to me. Now, don't get me wrong.
Excuse me.
On Derpy's nerd shows, he's very talkative.
Yes.
So I'm just beginning to wonder. I think it's just who he's with that day. That's just kind of how he is. Because again, maybe with you, he might be a little bit intimidated. Maybe I don't know, but it just seems to me like through the course of the show, he just kind of kept saying, "What about this guy, Mike?" And then you'd get all the information. Then you'd be done talking about it, and then he would say, "What about this guy? And what about this guy? And what about that guy?" And that's basically what the hour was. I thought. Don't get me wrong. I thought he did well, but there was one particular part that on the show that really caught my attention. And I know we want to get into sports and everything, but guys, I want to play this quick clip for you. This is it during the course of the mock draft show on Saturday night with Mike and Derpy, and Mike is talking about the draft and everything. And then as you're watching it, you start to hear stuff in the background. And at that point, I was like, what's going on? And as Mike's talking, it's getting louder. The sound is getting louder.
Yeah.
And Mike finally, he jumps on him. He goes, "Derpy, what are you doing?" And Derpy says, "I'm watching the bowling Final Four."
Like all I hear are pins clanging in the commotion in the background. I should have it queued up here. You want me to screen share?
Yeah, go ahead and pull that up, could you? This is my favorite part of the whole hour. I got to be honest with you.
He was killing me on this part. I hopefully it comes through.
I want to upgrade that O line and D line.
Do you hear that in the background?
I hear it in the background. Yeah, hopefully everyone else can.
What the hell you got going on in the background there, Derpy?
My Penguins, right? Not your Penguin, not the Pittsburgh one.
YSU. So you have that playing while we're doing the mock draft, so we can hear that.
Sorry, it doesn't really matter, but the bowling team's in the Final Four.
You can mute it and watch it.
They're in the champ.
And you know what? It was his idea to go on at that time. He was on Mike all weekend. Dude, can we do it at this time? Dude, can we do it this time? Then finally Mike settled in. And Derpy goes, "Okay, well, let's do it at this time." Whatever it was, 9 o'clock, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know, roughly almost 50 minutes through the show. And he was watching the bowling Final Four. And another thing that got me also, Mike, was one point during the show, he kind of jumped ship on you. You were talking, and he just out of nowhere, he goes, "I'll be right back." And just
he just bailed.
Click. Yeah.
I don't mind helping Derpy out. He's part of the show. He's part of the team. Yeah, I help a brother out. But you don't ask for my help and then bail or turn something on in the background. You know,
I'm losing it. I'm watching the show. I'm laughing my ass. And at that point, I was ready to. I was going to jump in on the board, but I thought this is just way too good. I just have to let Derpy
Yeah.
unfold. And it was funny. It was great. And you know what it was? It was what it was. And you know what? Great job, guys.
Yeah, thanks. Like, that was a long day for me too. It started at 2 a.m. and didn't end until like 11 o'clock that night. And thanks for helping me out, Derpy.
Yeah, no,
Making
good
me
stuff.
do everything. But no, it was good. It was fun time. Like I said, I love talking about the draft.
Go check it out, everybody. It is up right here on our network. If we just go to Saturday nights, it should be like the very last thing, probably. If you want to check it out, it's really good. I do want to get back on the board here, everybody. Everybody, good morning. Good morning. Corey says, have you seen the video where Mike Tannerbaum says the Steelers should trade TJ for Brock Purdy? I did see this. I also, Jen says, what is he on? No way. Yeah, so yeah, if you want to check that out, guys, you can listen to the whole video. There's a lot of comedic moments. I got to be honest with you. It wasn't just one or two. The hour. But at the end of the day, there was a mock draft mixed in it somewhere, and it was good stuff. So go check that out, everybody. That was from Saturday night, and also on Friday, Hollywood Derpy. Mike, he was on Finch's show as well. I guess Tim and Ryan couldn't make it, so Derpy stepped in. Applaud, kudos to Derpy. He's really stepping up. He's really working hard. I got to be honest, he really is. Yeah. So good for him, getting a lot of work and. Again, check it out. I think the one Saturday, and it was once it just got to a certain point, Mike. It was a lot of what about this guy? What about that guy? What about this guy? But once it got to a certain point, he's leaving to go eat. He's watching bowling tournaments.
Yeah,
you just couldn't keep up with the guy.
Yeah, he was like, my dinner's here or some shit. I'm like, bro,
yeah,
no. This is our time. Let's go. But no, but Brock Purdy. Yeah, Mark. I took 2 quarterbacks.
Yes,
it's like I'm like a beaten down puppy. I'm getting into the 2 quarterbacks. If we can get 2 quarterbacks, 2 defensive linemen, let's split the difference between us, Mark. I think we'll both be happy. And get a good running back in there, and I'll be ecstatic.
Let me ask you guys something.
Yeah.
What do you think would be the worst case scenario? Again, we're only 10 days away from the draft, guys. Just 10. Oof. 10 days. What, guys? Everybody on the board as well. What's the worst case scenario for you guys come first round of the draft? Is there anything that you would just be devastated to see the Steelers do? Maybe like an out of left field kind of move where you're saying to yourself, "What was that? We need this, and this, and this is what we did." You know what I mean? I don't think that that's likely, but it could happen. It happens, Mike. What, in your opinion, is the worst case scenario for the first round?
Another tackle in the first round. I'm starting to see a lot of people mock a tackle to the Steelers. It's like they don't pay attention to what we've done in the draft the past couple of cycles. Like a tackle in the first round, even a guard in the first round would be atrocious. I'm starting to see that safety from South Carolina mocked to the first round. I wouldn't mind having him, but we still got Minka under contract for another 3 years. So those 3 positions right there in the first round, I would hate. That would be a complete, oh my God, why are we doing this? Yes, they're needs, but they're not pressing needs. If we go defense first round, cool. Make sure they're an impact player, can play right away. Same thing with offense. Make sure it's a player that can be draft and play right away. Stay away from those positions right there.
I don't really know what the worst case scenario would be for me. I think this is going to be a hard one to mess up. Because we need so much. I just think that, you could pretty much wear a blindfold and throw a dart and probably be okay.
Yeah.
I'm seeing different things on the board here, draft running backs, Shedeur Sanders or trade up. So there's a lot of different things going on. And, even after Shedeur Sanders, made his visit here the other day, Shedeur, and I kind of, I don't know if I want to say I like him better. But he did leave here, said that the meeting was a 10. He also says to the league, go ahead and make that mistake. So, as much as I get on Shedeur Sanders, it's basically because of Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if he came here and was our quarterback and was a great quarterback, so be it. That's super. And we'd certainly take that. But, Mike, is there any chance? And again, and I know the closer it gets to the draft, the stories really start flying, and this guy's
Mhm.
going to be going here. No, it gets crazy. So, I mean, from 3 to 21, that's a pretty big jump for me, Mike. Is there any
Yeah.
way that Shador Sanders actually makes it out of the past the 20s into the
I don't
20s?
I don't think so. I know there's reports now that Derek Carr might be out for the year, so look for him to go off at 9. But they do have Spencer Rattler there. Do they want to give him a shot or tank for next year with the supposed better quarterback class, or do they go out and get him? For me, like if I'm Shador Sanders, I want to fall to LA. I think that'd be the perfect system for him to work under McVay, work under Matt Stafford. That would be the perfect spot for him. Coming into Pittsburgh, like how I know you and I debated this back and forth a while ago. Like our quarterback coach, how good will he be to develop a quarterback? This guy, has been in the pros for 2 years, worked as a pass game coordinator. How close did he work with the quarterback, Justin Herbert? If we get a quarterback that needs work, which Sanders needs work, Howard needs work, Dart needs work, Milrow needs work, can he be the guy to develop them? And then that's why, I wouldn't mind having some of these guys because I can see the potential that they have, but I don't think any of them are franchise altering guys. I think they're good stewards of a franchise, good game managers. I don't want to take them in the first round. I think second round, third round, go out and get them. But if Shador falls to it at 21, I wouldn't take him. But what I would do, I'd listen to offers for other teams.
Yeah.
I'm listening to offers, even if it kicks us out of the first round, but gets us in the top of the second round and gets us more picks this year, more picks next year. You would have to consider it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. But like none of these quarterbacks I would trade up for. But that's just me personally. But if they like the guy, like I always say, go get your guy and let the chips fall where they may.
When I had a dream, I this is serious. I had a dream last night that we got about 3 wins. We were at 3 wins, but we still had a couple games left in the season.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember saying to myself, "What's going on? How do we only have 3 wins?" And it's because we never addressed the quarterback situation. And what was going on in my dream was we were planning on going after Manning next year.
Yeah.
And I was like, I cannot believe that this team is actually they're actually throwing it in. They're actually throwing the season, and it was just crazy because when you're dreaming, it's real at the time, and I was just blown away. I was like, I cannot believe that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to throw this season, but we will see.
We'll see, and there's no guarantee that Arch comes out next year. Too, that's the thing. He still has another year of eligibility after this year, so if you're going to put all your eggs in the Arch Manning basket and hope he pans out because both Mannings had Hall of Fame careers, arguably with Eli. Do you want to roll that dice? And that's the thing, because what if he is that kid that doesn't live up to the parents' hype? What if he is the Austin Lemieux and not the Peyton Manning or the Eli Manning?
Right.
That's just the thing right there is, the name's awesome, but they don't always live up to the hype, Randy Moss's kid never did anything.
I agree, Mike. And again, this is just all the most recent hype that we do have going on.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's going to change 15 times between now
and
10 days from now. Nonetheless, guys, this is where we're at. We're 10 days out. I was curious on what the worst case scenario may be. Let's get to some of these messages on the board, Mike.
Yeah.
I'm over just messing with all this new stuff again. I did we got a new computer system in place. I don't know if you can tell. I can tell because it's 100 times better. What I hear on my end. So hopefully it's better out there as well, guys. Super fired up what's going on. Couldn't wait to get back at it. We got the computer in on Saturday, and we've just been chomping at the bit to get back to things here, Mike. Let me get to where we need to be.
Yeah.
All right. So Corey Beaver says, if we land Dart and Howard, how crazy would that be? If we just take all the quarterbacks, if we just clean up all the quarterbacks in the draft this year, we'll be in great shape.
Hey, like Mark Malone said, you just keep drafting them until you find one.
You're right.
If you do it strategically, it's not bad.
All right, so nope. But I do want to say good morning to Corey as well, though. Good morning, Corey. Richard says, draft a quarterback in the first round.
That would be the
maybe
mistake.
that is the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Corey also says Canty made a great point as well, saying that if Sanders is there at 10, then we should trade up. Since we did that for Bush, we should be willing to do so for a quarterback.
If he's your guy, yeah, go ahead and do it. If you think he is.
Then also Kenneth Jones. What's up, Kenneth? Good morning to you, sir. Kenneth says Will Howard is the guy. Richard says the standard is the standard. Mark Malone says he could suck balls next year too. Along with all their quarterbacks. And Tortilla says Nico, the quarterback from Tennessee, is hitting the transfer portal. So there is, guys, a lot of stuff going on. Over the weekend, also, we did mention that Shedeur Sanders was here on a visit, and the guy that a lot of people do like here in Pittsburgh is Jackson Dart. He in fact visited the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
So Cleveland, I mean, come on. I can't imagine Cleveland in a million years taking him just because of where they're at and what they can get.
Yeah.
I do believe that Jackson Dart's probably not going to be the guy. But, I mean, I could be wrong, Mike. Could you imagine a Joe Flacco, a Kenny Pickett, a Jackson Dart, and a Deshaun Watson quarterback room going into the summer?
That would be wild. Like, if it would fall the way they could fall for them, they could get Travis Hunter at 2 and then Jackson Dart, because they have the first pick in the second round. The Browns do. And if get your wide receiver / corner in round 1, then get a quarterback in round 2, or hope maybe Shedeur falls there and they get him, or Shedeur starts falling, they trade up and get him. Cleveland's going to fuck it up somehow, though, and they will fuck it up.
Oh, you know that. The Cleveland Browns somehow drafted the best quarterback out of the last 20 drafts. This team can't get more than 3 wins a season. This is the Pittsburgh Pirates NFL. Come on. Also, Mike, what else? I do believe there was somebody else we had. We have a virtual meeting today with Oregon wide receiver Treshawn Holden. So that is what's going on today. It's a virtual meeting, Mike. So we do have that going on. A lot of other things also here going on around the NFL and with the Steelers. Here's a comment that was later in the week last week. And again, with the computer issues, we weren't on later in the week. But this was a comment, Mike, that I did read from multiple sources here in Pittsburgh. It says the Steelers are starting the clock on Aaron Rodgers with some losing patience.
Yeah.
Mike, what's this story all about?
Apparently, I've read that too. Like, their sources are saying people inside the organizations are starting to lose patience with Aaron Rodgers, and sounds like they do have a timetable in place of, you make your decision by this day, or we're moving on with our plans, our contingency if you don't sign. And like, I don't mind leaks and stuff coming out, but until I hear it attached to Art Rooney, Artie Smith, Mike Tomlin, or Omar Khan, I'm not putting much weight to the reports. Like, it's just, just filler. It's just people in the office themselves getting tired of it, people in the cap department, people in the scouting department. Until I hear it from the big four, I'm not going to put much weight into it, but you're starting to hear more and more leaks come out of impatient they are and they're ready to move on, which, you know what? I don't blame them. If they have their deadline in place, we need a decision by this day or we're moving on. That's fair to the Steelers, and Aaron Rodgers can't expect any more from an organization. He probably does expect any organization to let, to like, hey, I'm dictating terms, to where, the employee, the team should be like, no, we have a business to run here. We gave you more than enough time to make a decision. It's either shit or get off the pot time.
And I do this on the show. You just think of your job. Say you get somebody that's really popular that might have maybe even worked at your company for example, and they know the guys that are there and they know the higher ups, but this guy comes back and he asks for the job and the company says, yeah, we like you, you're good, and you'll do great, but the person starts giving you all these problems right off the cut.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Before I can start, I have to go down to I have to fly down to Florida for the week. Yeah. And then when I come back, my son's getting an abscess tooth pulled. Then after that, the old lady, she's and at some point you're just like, what's the best ability, Mike?
Availability.
And it doesn't matter how great you are. It doesn't matter if you're a 4-time MVP. I think what really matters at this point in your life, because you're not getting the 4-time MVP at 41 years old,
Yeah.
is the availability. Bro, you just got to be able to make it to work. And again, Mike, if you were dealing with 27-year-old Aaron Rodgers is winning the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
then you might say, you know what, let's give this guy some leeway. This guy's going to win us some football game. Mike, he goes out for the season on the first play of the game 2 seasons ago. He put up decent numbers last year for the Jets, but again, 5 wins. This isn't the 4-time MVP that we're letting us pull around by our balls. It's not. This is a different guy. You want to play ayahuasca, you want to, which is fine. I don't care. Enjoy yourself. But at the end of the day, you're only getting a 41, going to be 42-year-old quarterback. I'm like, this guy is almost your age, and he's going to play games. And again, like you said, this is a business.
Yeah.
This isn't flag football in the backyard. This dude either has to shit or get off the plane. At the end of the day, I don't care if he comes good. If he doesn't, good.
Yeah.
It's not going to make or break me. We're going to sit here and talk about sports and football and Steelers every day, no matter what. But at the end of the day, Mike, I had some kind of revelation over the weekend, and I started liking Shedeur Sanders more and Aaron Rodgers even less. I think Aaron Rodgers is up to something. And don't get me wrong, the Steelers may very well be involved as well. But I'm pretty sure 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers does not want to participate in OTAs.
Yep.
I have a feeling the 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers does not want to participate in mini camp. I have a feeling. So again, right out the cut, it's everything has to be different for this guy. And even Cam Hayward, he's getting older, and some of the other guys. Yeah, they act veteran-y in that sense, and they'll take their days off during the week for this or that.
But they show up.
But they show up. What are we going to do with this guy? I mean, is he just going to show up on game days? This has a disaster written all over it. And I'm going to be honest with you. People talking all this stuff about, having Metcalf and Pickens on the same team, and then adding Slay, and then adding Darnell, and just a bunch of people. This guy, he tops the cake, Mike. I think we'll be fine with all those other situations. At least we know how to handle that. Can you imagine this team trying to deal with the headache that could be Aaron Rodgers over the next, over the 17-game season? At the end of the day, Mike, I think you have to go young. You have to go in a draft. You have to get a quarterback. That's just, I think, the responsible move to make if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers at this point. Because even if you don't, right now, again, I've seen this go across the bottom of my page 20 times. Here we are, April 14th, and our quarterback room is Skylar Thompson and Mason Rudolph. So something's got to give, whether it be AR-12, whether it be a kid in the draft, whether it be a kid in the 3rd round, whatever it's going to be, Mike. At the end of the day, we're going to get a quarterback here in the next week. I tell you this, I think, but we just can't keep playing. We can't keep playing these Aaron Rodgers games, Mike. We're not the Jets. That's the thing. This kind of shit goes with the Jets. And you might say, well, you know what? The Steelers aren't the same team of the past 10. But the fact of the matter is, they're the Steelers. The Yankees won 1 World Series since 2000, I think. So at the end of the day, you don't piss. Who's bigger than the game? Who's bigger than the Steelers?
Yeah.
I don't think it's Aaron Rodgers. Again, especially at 42 years old, Mike. He wants to sit. He wants to wait. He wants to come on game day. All the things that you wanted to do as a kid when they said, well, you got to practice to actually get in the game. He just wants to do that. He wants to come on Sunday, show up. That's my opinion. Again, at 42 years old, I don't think I'm that far off.
Now, if he doesn't want to come to OTAs, okay, you better be going out and working privately with George Pickens, DK Metcalf, Austin, Wilson, Freiermuth. You best be working with your wide receivers in private workouts and make them record them and show them to assuage the fans that you're working with the guys. At least do that and show up here and there to the OTAs. Give it to them. You did win a Super Bowl. You were a 3-time league MVP. Okay. At least you're doing that. You're working with the guys. And that should be it. And then once training camp starts, you're there at training camp. And just do that. But if not, you know what? You're gone. Like I forget who said it on the board. Richard said, Aaron, don't go away mad. Just go away.
Yeah.
At that point, that's what it's going to have to be. And you know what? Who cares if we go in with Mason Rudolph, a rookie, and Skylar Thompson? This is once again, This is how you can. People want to get higher up in the draft. This is how you do it. You run it out with Mason Rudolph and let the chips fall where they may. You let it out with a mid-round rookie. Maybe they turn into a Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy type guy, or you find out, hey, they're going to be that Mason Rudolph, Charlie Batch level quarterback in the NFL. Cool. I got my long-term backup. Now next year I can go and get my franchise guy.
Let's get back to the board, Mike. I'm going to go back to when Mark Malone said, hell, he was the MVP. Then he followed that up by saying Howard can play. Kenneth Jones says, Mark Malone, why does everyone slight him? Mark says, I don't know. Kenneth says, two dumb yinzers, he improvises well. Richard says, Aaron, don't go away. Okay, you got that.
Yeah.
Mark also says, like I've been saying, if A-Rod doesn't sign, Rudy will go off for 4,200 yards and 35. I mean, don't get me wrong. People would love that. But is it realistic, you know? Kenneth goes on to say, we're acting like the Browns, guys. We're acting like the Browns. You know what? We are. We are acting like, we're being portrayed as the Browns, in my opinion. I think this guy's kind of making us look like the Browns. Of course, we're not.
Yeah.
And, you know, we have a long way to go to be the Pirates are our Browns. So, I mean, we have a long way to go to dethrone them guys. But, Mike, at the end of the day, you know, they're making us look like a Browns-type organization, Aaron Rodgers is.
We haven't gone out and signed any of his former players from Green Bay. We haven't gone out and signed anyone that he would like to have on the roster. Until we do that, I can't say we're acting like a Browns or acting like a lower franchise.
I say
they're
this
just
next
conducting
move,
business.
This next move, yeah, we are for sure.
Yeah,
I just think this next move is vital. Whatever's going to happen in these next 10 days, I think is going to be vital going into next season. Jen says Rodgers is growing on you like a wart.
I was talking about Howard, Jen's talking about Will Howard.
Nasty fungus, she says. Also, Mark says BS Mike Rudy wins us 12 games. 12 games.
I would love to see that from Rudy. I like Rudy also grew on me. I was not a big Rudy fan when we first got him, but like, you know, he kept plugging away, got taken off on a backboard, got his head smashed in by his helmet, and kept going back out there, dealing with all this shit from the Steelers, dealing with all the shit that Big Ben gave him. He kept coming back for more and more. Rudy grew on me.
Yeah. No, yeah, I get it. I just don't have much faith in him. I just don't.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
he's still, even in games where he looked good, he still has the deer in the headlights look. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's just the guy. Yeah. I don't even know if you could fix that. Maybe that's just whatever that may be, Mike. That makes me nervous, especially at this point in his career. And he's had games. I think he's played about a season worth of games combined throughout his career. There's just something about him. Again, you want to see a guy step up to the line, know what he's doing, look around, make the calls, make audibles, change things up, get the players to where they need to be, change blocking schemes if need be. And get out there, read the safeties, read your mic, read every, and again, it's a hard job. There's a reason there's only about 5 of these guys that are elite on the planet, these quarterbacks, Mike, because you have to be a little bit of everything. And, if you're missing one thing, you fall by the wayside because, guys like Mahomes and Tom Brady, and, they're smart guys. Ben's a smart dude. Say what you want. You know what I mean? The football sense on these guys that are top grade quarterbacks in the league is one of the things that you look for. You don't just look for the strength of the arm and how quick his feet may be or how, you put all that into consideration, and that's ultimately what you want to do. And I just don't see there's something missing with Mason Rudolph. There's something missing, whatever it is, Mike. Is it just you just look at some guys, you say, well, this guy, he's just going to be a backup in the league. And that's basically what you're seeing when you see guys like Rudolph step under center.
I think Rudolph can be a productive starter. And you give him, you can say he went down to Tennessee and shit the bed. That team is god awful down there. And here in Pittsburgh, he's going to have a system that he can run and operate. Rudy's not afraid to attack the middle of the field the way Fields wouldn't, the way Russ wouldn't attack the middle of the field. Now you add DK Metcalf, George Pickens. Mason can throw a beautiful deep ball on time and, in a space where the receiver can get it. Offensive line, the interior O-line is getting better. I think they're going to see a much improved from last year. And I think Rudy's going to have time to sit back there. I don't think he's going to go for 42 and 35 like Malone's saying.
Yeah.
But, 3,500 yards, I can see that out of Rudy. I can see that. Maybe 25 touchdowns, 30 touchdowns in that area. It's just what are the what are the sacks going to look like, and what are the turnovers going to look like? And again, though, I think this team goes 9-7, or excuse me, 9-8, 10-7 in that range again. And we're just destined to finish there because we'll find a way to win. Watt will make plays throughout the season. Cam will make a few plays throughout the season that change a game. We'll play up against some teams and play down against the teams we're not supposed to, and it'll be a wash. And we'll be looking at the same record, picking in the same spot next year.
Let's get some messages. Mike Kenneth said we fumbled on receivers last year and quarterbacks this year. Mark Malone says, well, the SOB came in and got us into the playoffs too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big if. I hate hearing that because the dude did win the few games that he played. But when it's just 3 games through the course of a 17-game season, did he really get us into the playoffs? We were already kind of in good, decent position. All we had to do was, Mike, because here's the thing. We lost some pretty bad games during that time as well. But anyway, that's really beside the point. Mason Rudolph, guys, let me get to the next question here, or the next comment. I'm sorry. Corey Beaver says Rudolph deserves a real shot as a starter more than Rodgers does at this point. He kept his mouth shut, been loyal to the team, and came back after they did him dirty at least the first 6 to 8 games. Mark Malone says those were 3 must-win. Hey, you're right. They were 3, but you know what? The 3 that I know. But do you really chalk it up as because he's this really good quarterback? I just don't. I was Mike. Somebody, I don't remember who it was, but I seen this morning or last night it said the Steelers are the best team in the league without a quarterback. And at the end of the day, you
can argue that point.
And at the end of the day, you get a competent quarterback. Guess what? We do have a pretty good team.
Yeah, yes, there's holes there, but like you said, if you get a competent quarterback, not
a past your prime Russell Wilson, not a past your prime Aaron Rodgers. I'm talking about your guy. You get your guy.
Yeah,
we have a good team, Mike. I mean, despite all the holes that we have to fill, still. This is not a bad team. They managed to finish over 500, which is the big thing up there.
Yeah.
Mike. Yeah.
Big Ben, he showed what you can do with an elite quarterback. He, him and Lev Bell, they washed over a lot of warts on that offensive line because you had Marquise Pouncey and David DeCastro and everyone else sucked. You had the turnstile at left tackle in Villanueva. You had that bum Ramon Foster. They made those guys look like world beaters because Ben was able to make time, make quick throws. Le'Veon Bell was able to, dance behind the line, scratch his balls, order a pizza, and then go run for a 50-yard gain. So, a elite quarterback can hide a lot of warts on your team. And, if we would somehow luck into an elite quarterback or even a top 10 quarterback, this team would look dangerous because the defense wouldn't be out there as long. They would be rested later in the season. You would hide the warts on your offensive line, especially at your tackle position. Yeah. And then that's why it's so important to have a quarterback. And that's why Mark Blood, I think I've fallen into the trap of just keep drafting them until you find them.
Kenneth Jones is with Arthur in the new weapons. Rudolph might. I'm not really sure that I'm even sold on Arthur Smith, but anyway, that's we'll talk more about Arthur a little bit later on. Mark Malone says no, we were out, and I think we even needed help at one point. Richard says Mason is a solid quarterback, and Yinzer Joe, he follows that up by saying Mason isn't the answer. Tennessee gave him a shot, and he didn't do any better than Will Levis. Rudolph was 79.3 passer rating, 9 interceptions. Levis was 79.9, 12 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Okay, so he was 9-9, and Levis is 12-12. So where's the upgrade? Mark Malone says, I guess Pickett did look decent in that one game against Cincinnati, but he and Trubisky was painful to watch. Tortilla says 9 interceptions is better than 12, I guess. So, I mean, but we got to be realistic, though, guys. With Mason Rudolph, it's almost kind of like we've been there, done that for me. And, and people's going to come and they're going to say, well, you know what? He didn't really get a chance. He had a chance and he won the games that he needed, and we got into the playoffs, and he knows the system and he knows the guys. And, but at the end of the day, I guess this would be the season, Mike, if you were going to pull the trigger on Mason Rudolph. I guess this
Yeah.
would be the season. But for me, he just doesn't hack it, man. At some points in his career, even though they would have been in small doses, I would have just liked to seen a little bit more from him as far as confidence, a little bit more from him from behind the eyes. Again, as he's stepping up to the line and controlling his team and being a leader. At the end of the day, he's a Band-Aid. And I think everybody knows that. But at the end of the day, Mike, I guess if any year was going to be the year that you pulled the trigger with him, wouldn't this be the most ideal year? While searching for your quarterback, of course.
Yeah, and you look at what they did in free agency, bringing in DK Metcalf. Okay, you're adding another weapon for your quarterback, so you're kind of quarterback proofing your roster. Making it to where we can just keep chugging along until we get a guy, and hopefully they upgrade the running back position in their draft. Again, another weapon on that offense. Get some depth on the O line. So it's kind of just building the team out until we get a quarterback. That's kind of what we did until we got Big Ben. You look at the draft and the free agency back then before Ben came along, they were adding weapons on the offense, fortifying the defense, and then boom, fell into their lap because Cleveland was stupid, and you get Big Ben at 11. That's kind of what we need to do now.
Speaking of quarterbacks, Mike, let's take a moment to talk about the great Hall of Fame quarterback from the 1970s here in Pittsburgh, Mr. Terry Bradshaw. Not only great for his skills on the football field, Mike, but Terry Bradshaw becomes a hero to some as he opens a stuck airplane door, I guess. People couldn't get out, and Terry Bradshaw had to come along and save the day, Mike. Terry Bradshaw, a lot of people saying he was sick about 2 or 3 years ago. Here he is. He's saving people, Mike, as he gets a door open and lets people off this airplane. Mike,
we need to employ Terry Bradshaw on more flights. Terry with the 4 Super Bowls keeping planes afloat. Well done, Terry. I'm surprised he had the capacity to do that. Like you said, he's old as balls, man.
I mean, I don't see Tom Landry exactly saving anybody off of airplanes. Everything I see in the I don't want to get into the recent airplane crashes, but anyway, awesome for Terry, awesome for those people. But again, as I said, Mike, I don't see Tom Landry. I don't see Tom Brady saving the children.
No, I don't. You see Tom Brady flying private jets. Terry Bradshaw, man of the people.
Let's see. Corey says you're comparing apples to oranges. Tennessee was worse at O-line. I mean, was our O-line really that good? Whenever, because you figure that was a whole season removed from last year. But let me continue. I'm sorry. No quarterback is going to succeed there until they fix that. Richard says I agree that Mason isn't the long-term answer. I don't think anybody really is arguing that he is the long-term answer. I think. Let me continue. The off season is no time for realism. Ain't that the truth? We have all season to be real and see things for how they are. Kenneth says Mason has a stellar deep ball. But that's the thing about these guys. I mean, that's the thing I heard about the rainbow pass and the is this what we're going to live and die on? I want a guy that's not afraid to throw the ball down the field, but just saying a guy has a really good deep ball, there's a lot of things, again, the quarterback has to be able to do. And that's one of the things I didn't like about Russell Wilson. I mean, his best pass basically was a toss it up and let's see if one of these really great receivers can catch it. But again, there's going to be a lot more than that for me. Tortilla says, and all I say is Kahn and Tomlin went into a season with Money Mitch as number 1 quarterback as a mentor to our first-round quarterback. I think right now we are better off without a known answer at quarterback, at least better than Kenny and Mitch. Boy, is that not the truth, huh? User Joe goes on to say, Corey, no, the apples and oranges have always been around. The game is played the same. Steelers technically only had 1 good receiver. Titans have several good receivers. The lines on both teams were bad. And Tortilla said Terry would have stopped 9/11. That's right. If they were coming after our buildings, I promise you, Terry Bradshaw would have taken them down. But you know, a lot of good points here. I mean, Kenneth says with the 2 receivers, we have that's a cheat code. I mean, for sure. So again, what kind of season do you guys expect? What is this? What's this year mean to you? What do you think this is? You know, the outcome is going to be. Do you think that this team is basically going to do what they do? Ride 500, probably win, as you said, Mike, win a game or 2 over, go to the playoffs, play a really good team, Kansas City, Buffalo, maybe even Baltimore. The Chargers are looking really good this year. Play one of these teams and it's over. So I mean, we're all settling for Mason Rudolph. But at the end of the day, when we're in, you know, our season's over the first week of January, we may be singing a different tune. Is he good enough to hold the job up? Yeah. Could he hold the fort? Yeah.
Yeah.
But is this guy going to take you through a 17-game season, get you into the playoffs, play well enough in the playoffs against elite teams to get at least one win? I just don't see this team being much different than the team of the past 2-3 seasons, Mike.
Neither do I. Yeah, neither do I. And like you said, it's like the quote that you read. You know, we're a good quarterback away, and God, you know I hate to bring up Kenny Pickett, but that missing on a quarterback like we missed on Kenny Pickett, you see how that set the team back. You were hoping he would be the guy. Turned out he wasn't, and then riding for 500 the next year we missed out on some good quarterbacks. Last year we missed out on some good quarterbacks. This year, it's not that really good of a quarterback draft. You have guys there that you hope if you can work on them, they become something. And then you have to hope next year that draft class lives up to the hype that it's having. And so that we're stuck in a cycle, man. And the free agent class this year in quarterbacks was not the greatest. You had guys that had one good year. Can that continue? Was it just the system that they were in? And you have some old guys that had past success that didn't have a lot of success the year before. So we're in quarterback hell. So now the team is stuck in purgatory, and we've been stuck in purgatory because we've been trying to remain competitive to keep around 500, a little bit over to make it into the playoffs and lose instead of just rebuilding when Ben retired or drafting someone, letting them sit. Because we tried that with Mason and Ben didn't like that. So therefore, we just kept not drafting people to sit behind Ben to learn. And we kind of shot ourselves in the foot. And this is what's happening. We're just stuck. We're stuck.
Do you really feel that we're so much more improved than we were 3 years ago? That our offensive line, you're confident with the offensive line to do what an offensive line is supposed to do? Are we confident enough? Are we more confident in this team than we were 3 years ago with Arthur Smith instead of Matt Canada? What I'm trying to say, in other words, is the moves we're making, Mike, for the what we're doing. These are all moves that aren't really big game-changing moves. At the end of the day, I don't know. I mean, Arthur Smith, he had a couple seasons. He's terrible as a head coach in Atlanta. He did a couple good things in Tennessee when Tennessee basically had their best team they had this century. But any of the things that we're doing, Mike, they're not really putting us in that. But again, the offensive line's still questionable. We've been working on the offensive line through the draft for 2-3 years in a row now. It's still questionable at this point. Again, we're still missing prime positions, prime skill positions on offense. Are we any better off than we were again 3 years ago? You say this quarterback that we drafted wasn't any good in the pros, but he goes 7-5 as a rookie, and he didn't do terrible. You obviously seen that he wasn't going to be that guy.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, are we any better off 3 years later than we were? And how does that make you feel as a Steeler fan? I mean, if that's where we were 3 years ago, who knows how long this is going to. And listen, I get it. It's hard to find the right guys. I understand. If it was easy, there'd be 32 undefeated teams in the league, which would be impossible. But you understand what I'm saying, Mike?
Yeah. So I think we are better off than we were in 2022.
In what capacity?
Well, Our quarterbacks combined for 12 touchdowns and 14 interceptions.
Mike, we don't have a
That-
quarterback. You know that, right?
We got Mason Rudolph, who I think would do more than 12 and 14.
Which again, that's speculation. That's not even
Like-
we don't even know that.
Najee ran for just over 1,000 yards. Jalen Warren ran for like 380. Those guys
Now we
combined
don't
for
have one
8
of them.
touchdowns.
Now the one with 1,000 yards, we don't have him anymore.
You still got
So the
Jalen
one-
Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, and we're going to get a rookie or we're going to get a good vet after the draft.
Again, all speculation. I mean, we
Uh,
get a running back who is that ends up not being the guy we even like at all. He could come in and he could stink. And you see what I'm saying? We're
Deontay Johnson.
literally not better, Mike.
Deontay Johnson had 880 yards, 0 touchdowns. I like to think DK Metcalf is going to have more than 0 touchdowns. I like to think George Pickens is going to have more than 4
Of course,
touchdowns.
DK Metcalf is the improvement, and that's the exception. But let's talk about everything around besides DK Metcalf. Everything else is basically the same.
I think the defense is better. We upgraded over Miles Jack and Devin Bush. We upgraded over Terrell Edmonds.
I like Terrell. I didn't mind him back.
I
there.
like Terrell too. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big supporter of Terrell Edmonds. I thought he was damn good, but we saw last year Deshaun Elliott was a much better safety than Terrell Edmonds was his time here, and I like Terrell Edmonds. I thought it was a good pick.
Defense that let up all those points in the game last year in the playoffs, and the defense that let up all the points 2 years ago in the playoffs, and the defense that let up all those points 10 years ago in the playoffs.
The same
I'm
defense.
still trying to figure out where in the hell we're any better at. Mike, we still have the aging tackle. We still have the aging outside rusher. And we still have an aging, underperforming safety. Those are your 3 big guns. We have a Cole Holcomb who's been injured through his whole career. He's coming back. This is creating excitement. I don't see it because I've never seen the guy play in 3 seasons here. At the end of the day, yes, we made some improvements. We brought over Patrick Queen. And the Deshaun, but you know what? At the end of the day, we basically still have a lot of the same. I can't imagine what would have to happen for this team to make any kind of jump this year, Mike. It just seems to me, especially now we're behind the 8 ball heading into the draft. It almost seems like we need more than there is that's actually out there.
Oh yeah, there's needs at every spot, and like I said, if a good quarterback away, washes or hides a lot of these warts that you're able to move the ball up and down the field with a good quarterback. And that's what we need. So, the receiving core is better. The O-line, I think, is going to be better this year. McCormick's going to he's going to be better. But you're also getting Fatano. Hopefully he comes back. He's the big question mark on the O-line. Is he on the downside of his career? Troy Fatano and Broderick Jones. That's going to be your issue on that left side right there.
Fatano?
Yeah,
on the downside of his career?
Yeah, I think he's on the downside. Even though he did make a pro. Fatano. Sayamalo. Excuse me.
Okay. It's like, geez, oh man.
I know, right? I was like, why'd you correct me? I'm like, yeah. My bad.
Let's get back to some of these messages here, Mike. Let's start right here where Corey Beaver says, the severity of how bad the tight. Okay, I think we did get that. Mark Malone, under Joe. Okay. Richard says, I don't believe there is a quarterback out there this year available that's going to take us to the promised land. Do you mean long term, Richard, or do you mean a quick fix? I think of course we could find a long term guy and we could he could be our guy eventually, but I certainly don't think that we're going to be making any Super Bowl runs in the next year here, but that's just my opinion. Ender Joe also says, okay, Mark Malone, other than Robusters Jones, Kenneth says Smith is fine if the quarterback can use the middle of the field. Tortilla, if we sign Jeff Driscoll, we're going to go to the Super Bowl. Corey says, I agree with that. Haley was great for the team. You know what? Todd Haley was. I did like him. Ender Joe says, Smith, don't let the quarterback audible. He calls it and you run it. No exceptions, no excuses. Oh, can you imagine the headbutting between Arthur Smith and Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, God.
Oh. That's what I'm saying. That just has disaster written all over it. Kenneth Jones says Warren will have a breakout. I hope you're right. He has not had the chance to run not next to an 1,000-yard rusher yet. So that's a big workload for Jalen. I think he'll do well. He runs like a beast, but again, it's a whole different game, especially if you use Gainwell as your third down back, and maybe have a rookie. It's going to be different. It'll be different. Where we be? Mark Malone says we're drafting a running back without a doubt. Yinzer Joe says Warren is all we have. Really, he should have a better year. Mark Malone says Rudy to DK, GP, and Fry will be light years ahead of Wilson or Fields last year. He's a rookie stoner. Corey also says our defense is great if we can generate offense. We can't have 10 3-and-outs to start a game but that's just see what I'm saying? We need to be able to break that chain. That's been the story for the past 3 years. Is there anything that indicates that the defense is so much improved that it's not going to let up record numbers in a playoff game the way that it has the last 10 years? It's unbelievable with this team, especially in the first quarter of those games. Kenneth says I'm worried about Fatanu, injured twice already. You know what? These injuries, Mike, they kind of worry me as well. It almost seems like we either went through a long period of time, the Steelers, without having the injury bug, or this is just the way that it is now. These guys are getting hurt, and the way they dropped with the hammies last year, all season long. This guy's out for a month with a hammy.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's out for 6 weeks with a hammy. They used to rub that shit out, slap you on the ass, and told you to get back out there. With the hamstring injuries. So it's a different game now anyway.
It's
so
concerning, yeah. The way, like you said, man, the way they're all just going down, I'm not liking it at all.
Mark Malone says the scarlet is beginning to take effect, making Mike racist against Pacific Islanders. Also, the names all sound the same. Oh, well, you know what? In all fairness, they do. I mean,
I'm gonna be like I said, I'm turning into Hulk Hogan. Pretty soon I'm gonna be calling everyone brother. Be out here cutting promos on everyone.
I tell you what, I watched. I was in Hawaii one time, and also I just watched the high school football Hawaii Polynesian championships the other weekend, and they basically all have the same names. They all look like Troy Polamalu. They all had the long hair. It's must be the thing that goes down in Hawaii or whatever. But a lot of fun talking about 22 guys that were playing 110%.
Fuck yeah.
For 60 whole minutes. Great football players. But I guess just like anybody from Czechoslovakia, your last name is going to be similar.
Like every Russian hockey player ends in Ov or Ev.
You're right.
Yes.
Tortilla says you have to be a racist to qualify for a Scarlet. Right. We are currently out of Scarlets. Aaron Rodgers has them all. Rub that hammy out. Jen got a kick out of that. So, guys, I'm just going to lead me into this next topic, Mike. This was a little bit more last week, but again, with the system issues we did have, I did want to make sure that we did touch on this week. How about the cryptic TJ Watt peace out Instagram post he made last week? From what I understand, TJ wants more money than Myles Garrett does. Mike, I'm going to be honest with you. If you're building this team, and you have to get the positions you have to get guys that you need, quarterback, running back. Again, George Pickens ain't going to be around next year more than likely. Where was I going? Where was I going with this, Mike?
But TJ Watt and his contract.
Oh, TJ Watt and yes. So here's the thing. At the end of the day, are you really going to continue to pay TJ? Yes, he's getting, I don't know, what did he get last year, Mike? 10 sacks. A couple years ago, he had 20-some sacks. But he's getting a little bit older. Can we afford to pay TJ Watt the big time Myles Garrett money, Mike? Is that even possible? It's almost a case of a team that has one really good guy, and he's getting like for example, the Bengals. You have Joe Burrow and a couple receivers, and you have a bunch of garbage now because you can't afford to pay anybody else.
Yeah.
Because you're giving these three guys astronomical amount of money. Can we afford to give TJ Watt that astronomical amount of money and continue to build the team thoroughly to get us back to where we need to be on Sundays? I just don't see how it's going to happen, especially with a Minka that's underperforming with the money he's making, especially with Cam Hayward. Again, he did have a good season last year, but he's not a young guy.
No, he's not.
Do you find a way to give TJ Watt the money that he thinks that he deserves? And he may rightfully so. Maybe he does deserve that money. But I just don't know if the Steelers could afford to do that. Or listen, if we do, we could very well still be sitting in the same position 5 years from now, just trying to keep up to pay these one or two guys on the defensive side of the ball that isn't exactly again, a lot of sacks. He plays a lot, plays good football, but at the end of the day, we're giving up record points in the playoffs when the games matter. Mike, these guys still don't have a playoff win. TJ Watt, Cam Hayward. Yeah. So what do you think? Do we pay him? Can we pay him? Does it even make sense to pay him?
They can pay him. To me, it makes no sense to pay him. Like, he hit the last game he had a sack was the game against the Eagles. So he had 2 sacks in the last 5 games. With zero stat lines against the Bengals and against Baltimore. And he wasn't even affecting the game. They were more or less blocking him with a
tight say end. That one more time.
2 sacks in the last 5 games.
And in the
you can go to the game before that against the Browns. 0
in the
sacks.
Playoffs.
Yeah.
A game against the Bengals.
Nothing. And he wasn't even affecting the game to where, okay, if you have a 0 stat line, okay, go look at the film. Let's see what happened here. What was he doing? Was he forcing 2 or 3 guys to come to his side? No. A lot of that game, he was being chipped by the tight end only. And then the tackle doing a cursory look over. And then all of a sudden, after the season's over, oh, he was injured. I don't remember seeing him on the injury report down the stretch. I mean, there were games too against Washington. He had a 0 stat line, but you go and watch the film. Okay, he's mirroring Jaden Daniels. He's, playing contained on the edge. So, Jaden Daniels can't, scramble around. He was being an effective part of the defense. But down the stretch, he was not. Like, if he couldn't get to the quarterback, it was all over. It's like he regressed the second half of the year for just running after the quarterback, forgetting about anything else. And then he couldn't even beat a tight end for the most part down the stretch. To me, he is on the downside of his career. He had a great regular season career here in Pittsburgh. One of the all-time greats. He is going to end up in the Hall of Fame, deservedly so.
Yeah.
But down the stretch, in the playoffs, he does not show up. And that has to be taken into account. And if he wants more money because someone else got more money, dude, that's not being a team player. And I'm all for guys getting their money. But if you want to be a team player, you want to be someone who can win a championship here in Pittsburgh, look across the street. Look how much money Sidney Crosby has left on the table year after year after year. Dude's been paid $8.7 million his entire career. Could be making $15, $20 million. In hockey, that's a lot of money. Here, TJ Watt can't win shit. It wants more money. In
TJ Watt's defense, yes, he could have done more. But I got to be honest with you. Let's just say he had 2 sacks in the playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say he had 2 sacks in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
We got our asses kicked.
Yeah. Oh, big time.
So, you have to weigh all this out. And, the guy, I don't want to say that he's not a good teammate. I've never really seen it. The guys tend to like him. They look to his leadership, and he seems to do very well at that. But at the end of the day, you got to weigh all those things out. I mean, yes, we laugh at teams like the Browns because they overpay guys like Garrett, and they don't win.
Yeah.
We're not that far from being that team anymore, or from being that kind of team, because we're going to find all this money to make sure we pay these superstars. But we're not winning the games when they count. So what's the difference? You might as well kind of, in a sense, as we said, kind of start over in a way.
Yeah.
Free up all kind of money on by trimming the fat here and maybe starting to get them guys that you really need. We have, again, our skill position players, as Mark Malone just saying, we have 0 offense. We truly honestly do. I think the most strongest position, obviously, in my opinion, will be tight end, now wide receiver as well. Again, our offensive line is a bunch of young guys, a bunch of guys that's dealt with nothing but injuries over the past 3 years. We have a second and a third string quarterback, and we have a second string running back who's going for his first run at not having a 1,000-yard guy running next to him. So again, there's a lot of questions on this team, and I think at this point, a lot of them has to do with offense. I just think, Mike, that we should be spending some more money on offense to get to get what we need.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, the guy, if he gets 22 sacks and we win 8 games, what's the difference?
Exactly. And he's been in 4 playoff games. He has a combined total of 8 tackles and 1 sack. I'm sorry, that's not worth $40 million a year. That what he wants.
Money. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you have to, you can perform in the regular season all you want, but once it gets to crunch time in the playoffs, you have to elevate your game, and you're not. You're being completely ineffective. For the longest time, the joke was that TJ Watt, Cam Hayward had the same amount of sacks as Sidney Crosby in the playoffs. 0 goose eggs. If you get that money, you have to perform, and you have to expect that level of scrutiny. And I just don't. I know they want the Steelers want TJ Watt to be a one helmet guy. Franco Harris was not. He won 4 fucking Super Bowls here. Joey Porter was not a one helmet guy, and he won a Super Bowl here in Pittsburgh. You got to be you can't be afraid to move on from guys. There used to be a time when the Steelers were not afraid to move on from a player a year before they knew their production would stop happening. You would let a guy go, you would eat it for that year, and then the next year you see that guy's out of the league or almost out of the league. They have to get back to that. Otherwise, you're throwing money at guys that are not going to be producing, and next thing you know, you're going to miss out on money to extend guys on your offense that you need to score. It has to get back to being a cutthroat with this management, not you've been here, you've been great, we want to keep you here. No, you have to look at production.
I hate this.
You have to look at production.
They have a buddy system, and I hate it.
It's what sports is becoming, dude. It's like no one wants to upset the apple cart on their team anymore. No, you have to look at it as a cold, hard business, and no, you're not producing. Guess what? You're gone. You're at the end of your career. Thank you for what you did here, but we have to do what's best for the logo. We've given you a shit ton of money. If your finances aren't that great, that's on you, but we got to look at our bottom line and our team overall. You just got to cut bait and go. Is TJ Watt going to be worth the $30 million we're paying him this year? That's what
next year. Or
he
the
better
next
have,
year.
Yeah. He better have more than 11.5 sacks this year to justify the $30 million.
Exactly.
If he wants to hold out at camp, let him hold out at camp.
Right, let's jump back on some of these messages, Mike. I'm gonna start right here with Corey. He says, I say we go ahead and give Aaron a call, tell him to sign today, or we are out. We have a short time until the draft day. We need to refine our board. We may need to trade up for Sanders or move back for a second. Kenneth says, I think he was saying second extension will happen. He follows that up by saying reconstruction Minka. Joe says the cap has continued to rise with some other teams paying their top players. Why can't the Steelers? I see that they can spread it out so it doesn't hurt them. Kenneth says double and triple team. Corey says we should definitely reconstruct Minka, make a pitch to TJ to a lower offer. I'm sorry, but still pretty big offer with a prove it clause to increase the contract if he can get his sacks. You know what? And then also turns Mike, is somebody else gonna come along and say, you know what, we'll give TJ this top money, and you know what? If this isn't pretty over the next year, that I think that's a very good possibility. Somebody who's going to have more money than brains, maybe like a Raiders or one of these teams that just always makes bad moves. I think that they would be more than willing to give TJ Watt a lot of money, don't you?
They probably will. Good, take him. He's on the downside of his career. I'd rather have someone else pay him that money than my team, so we can allocate those resources somewhere else to make the overall team better.
Ginter Joe says Watt was doubled and shipped by the tight end a lot. Highsmith didn't help anything on his side. They need to mix them up sometimes. I mean, you see the way they use Micah Parsons in Dallas. Yeah. You never know where he's at. That's what makes him most effective. I mean, he's really good, and he gets the ball. He gets to the ball, makes a lot of plays. But at the end of the day, he's all over the place, and that makes him so much harder to account for. Because I mean, not only do you have to be prepared to block TJ Watt, and be prepared for that assignment. But you don't even know if your guy, what play is it coming? Is it going to be third down? Is it going to be, you could look up and TJ Watt could be standing directly in front of you. I think that would be much more effective. He lines up from that same spot, play after play, 3 yards off to the left outside of the line. I just think that kind of becomes easier to manage it if you're an offensive player. Mark Malone says we had 0 offense. He also says, I think that he was fighting something. I know it's like this every year, but damn, the D is on the field a majority of the game. And again, that comes down to we got to spend money on offense. I mean, we're looking to go back to our third string quarterback. I mean, this is where we're at. This is the move that most people were fine with. We got to go back to Mason. This is going to be the best decision. This kind of shows the mindset of where this team is right now. Running back will be the running back room will be much improved, Mark Malone thinks. Tortilla Jackson says, I'm still paying Watt, give him 3 years, 120, figured out later. While we're not paying a quarterback that money, I at least would rather pay TJ. We're 1-11 without him.
I'd rather go 1-11 and get a top pick, maybe get a franchise quarterback, and then hey, you can hide a lot of warts.
Kenneth goes on to say, yes, pay the offense. Teams focus on TJ and nobody else steps up. That's another problem. Where the hell's the rest of the defense?
The thing is, though, a lot of this, like, teams focus on TJ. Down the stretch, they were not. It was like a tight end who would, for the most part, was holding him in contained down the stretch, or just the tackle holding him in contained.
Who was the rookie tackle? We thought, he's going to do well this week, and he got blocked by a rookie.
It was against the Giants. He did well, except for like 1 or 2 plays at the end of the game, and then Watt, he got the strip sack that won the game, which was great. But all throughout the game, he was a non-factor. Like you said, that rookie tackle ate his lunch.
Yendra Joe says nobody says anything about Highsmith. I think that Highsmith was overrated all along. That's just my opinion. He says last year he had 28 tackles, 6 sacks. Watt had 40 tackles and 11.5 sacks. Some fumble recoveries and batted balls. I don't. You know what? I don't. I think with that position, I preferred Bud Dupree. Mike, when it comes down to Bud Dupree and Alex Highsmith, but I think that's the best you're going to get on the other side, because again, all the money that's paid out to the places that is paid out, I think somebody like Alex is probably the best bet over there. And but I personally never been too sold on him. Yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's solid, but I'd like to see a little bit more out of Alex Highsmith.
And Highsmith was hurt last year. If he would have played all 17 games, he would have finished with 9.5 sacks. So a sack and a half less than TJ Watt, and he's making $12 million less than TJ Watt. So is that sack and a half really worth $12 million more than Alex Highsmith? Not really. But TJ Watt's supposed to be the greatest defensive player in the league. Like 11.5 should be the bare minimum. Why? Like I don't know why we're not allowed to hold star players on the defense accountable, hold them to a higher standard. I don't know why it's a bad thing.
Kenneth says, can they make up the difference in bonuses? Tortilla says, in my opinion, TJ will start to really go downhill around 34 years old. That's just my opinion. So he would pay him. He would still pay him for 2 to 3 more years, he's saying. Corey says we have Herbig. I like this Herbig. Now, he's a playmaker. He's undersized a little bit. But I got to be honest. This guy plays his ass off. I think he outperforms Alex Highsmith. And, I'm going to be honest with you. I would not feel that it was a huge drop-off if he had to play in place of TJ for a game or 2 or 5 or whatever it would be. I think Herbig moves a lot like TJ. I think he would get a lot of the same results that TJ gets.
Yeah, he's still a little undersized, but you throw him out there. Worst case scenario, you find out, okay, he's a nice piece to have, sprinkle it in here, sprinkle it in there, and then go out and get someone to replace Watt long term and use that money on offense.
Let's see. Corey says, okay, Mark Malone, yeah, no doubt. Highsmith, Benton, Herbig need to strap on a pair. Yeah, you know what? Benton's another one. He really needs to step it up, Mike. I had high hopes for Benton. I'm starting to be doubtful on that. Corey says we can also reconstruct Highsmith for his lack of production to give some of that money to TJ. Tortilla says Herbig needs more development. His ass against a run. Mark Malone says against mythical numbers, and Corey Beaver says Tortilla he has all off season. Tortilla then goes on to say, yeah, I think he'll be good, but as good as our third linebacker, which teams start chipping Highsmith and Herbig as our two. We're back. Okay, yeah. So Mike, does this become an issue as well with this linebacker spot? Say we do bring TJ back and we do pay him for 2 or 3 more seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Again, as I'm seeing, as some of these people are saying in the messages here, he's 30 years old, he's 31 years old. So let's say we do pay him a whole shitload of money. Let's say that because here's one of the things I hear most is, well, you know what, he was not 100%. He was dealing with an injury. He's sitting out in the fourth quarter because he might have pulled something in his arm. And I understand that there's injuries in professional football. There's injuries every game. Everybody's injured. Nobody gets through the season uninjured. Yeah. It just doesn't work. It doesn't happen that way. But, let's say a year from now, he really starts to take that downfall, Mike. And, he misses half of the season, and which goes to the point of somebody says we were a 1-11 without him. So let's just say we start losing a lot more games. Let's say he's not in the lineup. Let's say that we're a season and a half into this last 3 years. Are we going to be kicking ourselves? And we could have said, you know what, we could have really taken that money and put it towards our ace on the a quarterback, or so these 3 guys on defense, Mike. I think this is very, very what's the word I'm looking for? Important.
Yeah.
They have to handle these 3 players on defense. I think this is very important. If they don't handle this correctly, Mike, I think this could set us back again another 5 years on top of a bunch of problems that we have right now.
Yeah, and those 3 guys account for about 26% of your salary cap.
Exactly. That's a quarter of your money is going to these 3 guys.
Yeah.
They're overaged, again, underproducing. And I think, don't get me wrong, I think that was the best season that Cam Hayward had in quite a few years.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Was it a dominant performance? I don't think.
He had dominant performances, but he also had ones where he wasn't there a whole lot. And that's a typical Cam Hayward thing. Again, like there are games where he didn't show up a lot in the stat line, but you watch the film, he was doing what he needed to do. But there were other games where he was nowhere to be found. And he's 36 years old. As a D lineman, what does he have left? Was that his last hurrah? And if it was a great last hurrah, but I don't want to pay him any more money. Minka hasn't done shit in forever. And
here's the thing, Mike,
there's no more excuses
around. But can you imagine if we brought somebody in in those 3 positions that were better?
Yeah.
Somebody comes into safety and they make the plays that Minka was making when he first came here.
Yeah.
Or we bring in somebody that's Cam's replacement, and he just terrorizes offensive lines all season. And he's stopping guys in the backfield. So does it come down to, Mike? This is just a very Pittsburgh thing. We don't ever want guys to leave. We don't ever, as you said earlier in the show, a one helmet guy.
Yeah.
Is this just a Pittsburgh thing that again, we could bring people in that are better.
Yeah, that's becoming the new wave in Pittsburgh now, we can't let anyone go when we used to let people go all the time. Levon Kirkland, a forgotten name in Pittsburgh, but remember, he was a dominant inside backer, and they let him go. And he went off. He had one good year after that, then gone. Lawrence Timmons, the same thing, gone. Joey Porter went down to Miami, had a 15-sack season that first year. Then after that, he was nothing. The only one that really came back to bite us in the ass was Rod Woodson. It became a money thing at the time. You can't be afraid to let guys go. You have to, and that way you can get more talent onto your team. You have more money to use to keep the younger players when their contracts come up. People will say, "Oh, we can't pay DK Metcalf and George Pickens." We could if we shed $30 million, $22 million, and $19.6 million. You have money to keep two
Just
number
think
one
of
wide
that.
receivers
Look
and a
at that. Look
quarterback.
at those weapons that we can afford, Mike.
And then you draft an
And
outside
then we
linebacker, you
start
draft a
scoring
safety, you
more
draft D
points.
lineman.
And then that makes the job easier on the defense. You know, all the things that people were saying, we're not scoring a lot.
Yeah.
So let's fix the problems. No, we
Yeah.
want to nurse 3 guys that probably should not be coming back. Again, it's hard to cut ways with a guy like TJ Watt. But the other 2 guys, I mean, one, Minka hasn't performed well in the last 2 seasons. And again, at the end of the day, Cam Hayward, a big defensive lineman at that age, I certainly think that you can improve and be better off at that position. But again, that's just my opinion, Mike.
And this is why it's important. You hit on that young quarterback. They get their rookie contract. You can pay your guys on offense. You draft well on defense. They're on rookie contracts as well. Then when it comes up to extend guys, okay, then you should theoretically have a decent chunk of change to spread that money around, move on from people, and draft again, draft and replace in key free agent signings. That used to be the philosophy in Pittsburgh. It can still work that way. They just refusing to move on from older veterans, and that just puts you in salary cap hell. It puts you in salary cap hell.
We have the Penguins doing the same thing. We have, I mean, it's certainly a thing here in Pittsburgh. We don't want to get rid of our big name. We got our jerseys and we invested but sometimes it's better.
The logo is more important than the player. There's very few players that should be a one-team guy. Yeah, Crosby should be a one-team guy, and his on ice performance is proving it. TJ Watt at one point should be a one helmet guy, but his play is deteriorating. You got to move on from him. Big Ben should be like the last Steeler that's a true one helmet guy. He won a Super Bowl, was rookie of the year. Is a first ballot, no doubt Hall of Famer.
He's a top 5 quarterback of
Troy
all time.
Polamalu is a one helmet guy. These are guys who have won championships and that were the best of the best. Now, TJ Watt, if he would have won a Super Bowl or had some nice playoff runs, I'd be like, yeah, give him that money, let him stay here. We'll deal with it. But you're not giving me anything.
I got to get to some of these messages. I'm really getting backed up here, man.
I'm sorry.
All right, so I'm just watching him go here.
I know, it's me too.
Oh boy, let's see. Andrew Joe says you can't be that stat maker you are when no one on the team can do their part. How do you get those plays? How do you get those plays when all the other team has to do is focus on you and no one else? Kenneth says, what about the edge from Texas A&M? Benton is not a nose. Mark says, good thing Benton hardly ever plays nose. Ain't that the truth? He just doesn't have the size. I don't know. I want to see somebody a lot bigger in there, taking up more space, taking up more blocks. Benton just, as I said, and the guys are saying, he seems more of a tackle, not too much of a nose guard.
Yeah, more
in
of
the
a
NFL.
Rusher on the inside rusher.
Also, Kenneth Jones says Adams should have never been used as a nose. Corey says, Yinders, to your point, why would we pay TJ and he can't perform because of Highsmith not doing his part? Either way, TJ isn't getting younger, and Highsmith still needs to improve. TJ is a casualty of it. Tortilla goes on, can act like Highsmith's job, isn't he? Oh, absolutely. That's the thing. I think Highsmith, that's why I say he's a little too over. What's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
He should be performing better, is what I'm trying to say. In other words, because you have TJ Watt on the other side of you. How can you have an average season when you have the best player supposedly on the other side playing? Mike, just by default, you would think that that Highsmith's numbers should be better, but they're not. Like Tortilla says. Tortilla also went on to say, I forgot who said it, but someone brought up TJ's last contract negotiations and how he had to basically storm into Rooney's office and demanded the contract. I forgot all about that. Andrew Joe says, I accept the point, Corey, but what if it is just a movement or position issue or something easily fixed? Kenneth says defense helps, but the offense wins Super Bowls now. Corey Beavers also goes on to say, well, then maybe he should be talking about offloading Highsmith and putting Herbig in his spot and extend TJ that way, trade him for a fourth. You know what? I wouldn't have a problem with that, Mike. And again, I just think that other position is so indisposable. You went from Bud Dupree to Alex Highsmith. And let's just say they did make that move to free up money whenever Highsmith's contract was up. I would have no problem with putting somebody like Herbig in that spot. But again, you're still going to be tied down with another guy that's making that money. And again, Mike, let's just say he gets 10 sacks in 17 games. This is what you're paying top dollar for.
Yeah.
More money than Myles Garrett, because your guy got 10 sacks through the course of a season. When TJ is on and he's forcing fumbles and he's recovering fumbles and he's just doing crazy shit, this is when he's worth it.
Yeah.
In the playoffs, last game of the season against the Bengals, those were two. Come on, he dropped the ball, dude. He's nothing on the score sheet. No. Nothing, Mike. All zeros across the board.
Yeah, and with Highsmith, like he's not just a pure, I'm going to blitz the quarterback every play. He's your run stuff around that side. He drops into coverage more than Watt does. He does a lot more than what Watt specifically does on defense. I want more sacks out of him. I want him to be healthy too, because you can see when he is healthy, he's a beast on that side. But him and Watt last year were very rarely healthy at the same time.
Tortilla Jackson says, we also have the tendency to go after vets in free agency along with keeping ours. It's weird. We paid Hayward, and I remember everyone was having the same convo about him, but he outperformed his contract, which is good if it works. I mean, if he outperforms his contract, super. Tortilla also says the cap will go up and players will keep getting more money. Overhyped was the word I was looking for. Yes, thank you, Tortilla.
Yeah.
And then he also goes on to say, I like moving Highsmith and making Herbig number 2. But again, at the end of the day, I just think that's such a small piece, Mike. There's so much money. 25% of the money paid to your team goes to these 3 guys. Do you guys at home, I mean, you guys sitting on the board, people watching, listening, does that sound worth it to you? 25% of our money going to 3 guys. Are those 3 guys satisfying you enough for that not to be a problem? I mean, an offense that Mike is anemic and we can't, I'm just saying, this is kind of the problem.
Yep.
I mean, that's a lot of money. Lot of money that usually goes to franchise quarterbacks, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have that guy. So, again, you can see how this is kind of the root of a lot of things that are going on for the Steelers. Yeah.
Like, TJ Watt wants, franchise quarterback money.
Yes, right. To make 10 sacks a season.
Yeah.
These guys are making 40 touchdowns and 4,000 yards and winning Super Bowls. And TJ Watt wants top money to get 11 sacks. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not hating.
No,
I'm just saying.
I liked TJ Watt, Cam, Minka, but you got to be honest in their evaluation. You can't just go by I like them. You got to look down deep into the numbers, into the film, and their performances, man. When they're on, but they're not on like they used to be on, game in, game out. You're gonna have an off game here, off game there, but when it rolls and rolls and rolls, continuing to have off games, that's not a good sign. Cam, great year last year, but injured the year before, down year before that, 36 years old. I just don't want to pay him anymore. Let him ride off into the sunset. Minka, let him ride off into the, see if you can trade him next year
somewhere. Yeah.
And like, you won't be able to trade him this year. Maybe next year you'll be able to trade him. You won't get much for him because of his contract, but at least you get something in return.
Mike, you could get maybe an extra draft pick in the third round or
fourth round.
Yeah. Take the big draft in Pittsburgh next year. I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
Mike, let's move on though.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yinzer Joe says, let's see. He says, yes, Highsmith is a decent player, but Watt is the face of the defense. Trade Highsmith and make something happen for an extra draft pick. Okay, yeah. He says, what's his contract look like? What's Highsmith's contract look like?
I got it right here. Give me 1 second. It's loading up. He is 18.6 this year, and then the next 2 years, 20 mil, 21 mil. Really won't be able to cut him until 2027. His dead cap will be 5.5. So he's more or less here through 2027.
Tortilla, 4 years, $68 million, he says. Also, Corey says, I don't care what we do at this point, as long as we do something different to show that we're trying to win now. Yeah, exactly. Saying it, but continuing the same pattern of behavior is just stupid and insulting to fans. I couldn't agree with you more. Great way to put it, Corey. I agree. And it's just sometimes you ask yourself, are these businesses, are they just going to do it because nobody is saying anything? Are they going to continue to make these moves and continue to be stale and stagnant as they are? And maybe teams need to, or maybe fans need to act up a little bit as they are with the Pittsburgh Pirates organization. Maybe those kind of things need to happen here as well. Keller Haas, what's up, brother? Nice to see you this afternoon on the board. Mike, let's move along a little bit. We do have to move along.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize what time it was.
I know it's been flying now with your computer working, bro.
I can't even believe it, man. This is it's been great. There's been no problems on my end, and I got to be honest with you, it's been super, man. The time has been flying. It really has been flying on my end. No two ways about it, Mike. But I think it's time that we do move on.
If you say so.
Let's see. All right, so guys, let's try this.
Another one.
There we go. On to another one, guys. The Pittsburgh Penguins, Mike, saved the day this weekend. Otherwise, it would have been an Owen weekend because the Pirates, they went 0-3. The Riverhounds went 0-1. The Penguins, they win a game out of the 2 games that they had this weekend, Mike. On Friday, the Penguins beat the Devils 4-2. Raquel is the leading goal scorer on this team this year, Mike. He has a career-high 35 points. You got to like what you're seeing from Raquel. All season, people were saying, well, nobody's really doing anything besides this person, that person. I got to be honest, guys, 35 goals for Raquel leading the team is certainly over exceeding people's expectations, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. I think this might be, I'm pulling up his stats real quick. It's his best year ever by a goal. He did this back in 16, 17, 17, 18, 30 plus, but 35, that's the most he's ever had. It sucks that, he's 31, another old, quote unquote, old guy, but I don't know, man, you keep him around or do you trade him in the offseason to maybe get some more pieces to the puzzle? But I think, at 31, he might still have a couple good years of hockey left in him, especially playing with Crosby.
The Penguins, I agree, Mike. He's doing really well. They took a loss on Sunday. They lose 4-1 to the Bruins. They wrap up their season tomorrow, Thursday night, against the Capitals at home. It's fan appreciation night, guys. Last game of the season against the Caps. Get down to PPG Arena. You got to have an opportunity to win some things. I think they give the jerseys off their backs and all kind of other things for this game. So get down. Last game of the season, Mike. Just one game left in their third season in a row without qualifying for the playoffs after going 18 straight while leading the league and going 18 straight years. Mike, let's talk about the Hounds for a moment. The Pittsburgh Riverhounds, they took on the Charleston Battery over the weekend. They lose 2-1, but it is some kind of small in-season tournament. The Hounds play again tomorrow. They play Columbus Crew 2. That game is at 6:00 p.m. Go Hounds. Get back in this thing. Like I said, I think it's a tournament of some sort. They did lose the first game, but they still do get an opportunity to move on. Mike, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Pirates get swept over the weekend. They lose 5-3 to the Reds on Friday, 5-2 to the Reds on Saturday, and they get shut out by the Reds yesterday, 4-0. Mike, the game today, they have a new series starting. They're playing the Nationals. It's a 4-game series. Paul Skeens is on the hill. So if there's anything to get excited about for these Pittsburgh Pirates, I guess it would be today, game 1 of 4 against Washington at home. This game starts at 6:40. Skeens coming in with a 1-1 record, a 3.44 and 20 strikeouts. He'll be facing Brad Lord, who is 0-0 with a 1.80 and 4 strikeouts on the season. And then, as I said, Mike, that's a 4-game series. We'll see how the Pirates are. I mean, come on, they're self-destructing. They're 5-10 right now. They're just they're not doing anything well. We certainly expected to have some kind of a boost this year. It's even worse. Like, this could be their worst season if it continues this way. It could be the worst season in a long time because, as you recall, the past couple of years they've been starting quick, and then they run into that wall. Now they just run directly into the wall. There's not even any starting quick to this team.
No, there's not. And we have our leading home run hitters are tied with 2. No power, No one hitting for average for the most part. Guys hurt, Bricks missing, Clemente covered up. It's a great time to be a Bucko fan.
One good thing about Clemente, though, they apparently the Congress is making a decision, Mike, to make a commemorative Roberto Clemente coin. Apparently,
Ooh.
yes, Congress is actually going to clear this. If it all goes through, there's going to be a commemorative Roberto Clemente coin, Mike. So you know
I
what?
like it.
Of course, it isn't the Pirates that are making good of.
No,
Roberto
we were not.
Clemente.
Yeah, the government saw this like, oh god, we got to do something for Pittsburgh fans here.
And you know what else? There's all this dumb shit that they're into right now. These Pirates. There was a fan that was wearing a paper bag on his head. You know how fans
Yeah.
do.
Uh-huh.
They made him take it off.
What?
They came up and said it was a safety hazard.
No, get the fuck out of here.
They have a paper bag on your head, which is
No.
done a million times in sports.
Exactly.
So there's the Pittsburgh Pirates again, pissing everybody off.
Oh, the Buccos.
Pissing everybody off. What you could do if you're really good and kind of call your shots, but
Yeah.
again, this is the worst performing Pirates I've seen start the season in a couple of seasons. So we will keep on top of that as well. Also, Mike, the UFL did kick off week 3 this weekend. Birmingham beats Arlington 10-9. That was Friday. On Saturday, Houston beats Memphis 18-17. On Sunday, San Antonio remains winless as they go down 26-23 to Michigan. And then finally, the big game that you couldn't wait for all weekend, Mike, was the DC Defenders against St. Louis. DC wins this game 27-15 and remains undefeated in the league, Mike, 3-0 going into week 4. So that's spring football, guys. I definitely am keeping on top of that as well. Also, Mike, a couple things about the college football playoffs per ESPN. There will be, let's see. They're talking about changing the playoff format already.
Already? That's stupid.
And what they're saying is this: 14 teams, buys for top 4 teams, and conference champions will be playing in round 1. You know, providing that they're not one of the top 4 teams. I think this only continues to help college football. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, look at teams that are good every year. Let's use for an example Penn State, Mike. That we were talking, you know, they have a hard time beating Michigan and Ohio State, but guess what? This team was able to get into the playoffs. This team made a good run, and they got pretty far. I think the more teams you let in, I obviously don't think it should be 64 teams like basketball.
Yeah,
it's a whole different beast. But I think now you're getting right around what's going to actually benefit college football the most. You're giving other teams opportunities, even if they're not good enough to win. You're still getting other looks, which is making money for schools.
Yeah.
And, I'm not against it. As you said, as you seem surprised, it does seem like it came awfully quick after, just recently making a change, Mike. But I'm not against this whatsoever.
I'm not either. But I thought like this year's playoff was very successful. Like a lot of people, like the ratings, people were tuning in. It was fun, exciting. I liked it, but hey, I'm not the decision maker. I'll still be watching. Let's
see, as far as Pitt.
Another one.
It also looks like the Pitt Panthers do play the Penn State Nittany Lions in baseball, Mike. That is on May 13th here at PNC Park. And then also just last Wednesday, we didn't get to touch on the Pitt Gals beat the Penn State Gals in women's volleyball, Mike, 3-2 in exhibition play. So these two teams, there's no doubt in my mind they're going to be two of the better teams in college volleyball.
They were last
year.
Yeah. And Pitt baseball, they're going to beat us again. I think last year Penn State went there. We got shellacked.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't have high hopes this year.
Yeah. I didn't really pay too much attention to the baseball in college last year. I think I may remember that a little bit, Mike. Let me jump back over to the board. I'll grab a couple of these, Mike, and then we're gonna start getting ready to do some trivia and things like that. Okay, let's go right here. Where are we? Tortilla. Thank you, Tortilla. We appreciate that, man. I appreciate the feedback. We certainly we put a lot of work into making sure that is going to be better. And here we are, guys. Also, let's see. Corey Beaver says we keep buying tickets and merch, so they keep doing the same shit. Exactly. This is why the Pirates situation is the way that it is right now. People are finally stepping up and being proactive. Tortilla going to a Pirates game is a safety. going to the game is a safety hazard. Not even wearing a bag over
There's
your
a
head.
mental health issue right there.
Matter of fact, when I leave a Pirates game, I'm gonna put a plastic bag over my head.
Took a second.
Joe says I would have said I was hyperventilating. Yeah, that's the Pirates. That's where we're at with these guys. It's just at that point where they know that we hate them now. Not the team, not the players, not the colors, but the people that are running the show. That they're really starting to understand now. I think that the fans hate them.
Yeah. It's not the players. The players can't help it if they suck or not. It's
right.
The team. It's the manager who refuses to put out a consistent lineup. You know what? We had 2-3 days off, and then Kutch is still sitting on the bench. And when he's like one of your better players, it makes zero sense.
It's just 10 more days from the draft, Mike. Also in May, we do have the WNBA starting and women's football. The Pittsburgh Passion here. We do follow our passion through their football season as well, Mike. So that's all coming up in May. But nonetheless, there's 10 days, just 10 days to the NFL draft. I know everybody's just chomping at the bit. They can't wait to see, like Christmas morning, see what we get and know what we're going to be working with moving into next season. Well, Mike, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody about the website?
The2dumyinzers.com. Check it out, everyone. You know what's over there. All of our links, the merch store, the blog. Check it out at the2dumyinzers.com.
Go check it out, everybody. A lot of cool things over there. www.the2dumyinzers.com. That's www.the2dumyinzers.com. All right, Mike, the trivia of the day. This is a Steelers draft trivia. Draft trivia. So put on your thinking caps. Everybody at home on the board. Here we go. Question of the day. Since 1970, who were the only two Steelers drafted inside the number 10 pick? Number 10 by way of trade, I believe Bush was, but I'm talking single digits, Mike. What was the last? What year? Okay, yeah. Who was the two players? See, now I don't think this is correct. And I'll tell you why. What number was Tim Worley drafted in '89?
He was a top 10 pick, I believe.
Yeah, because I get this question and it gives me a certain number, but this is the number. All right, let's go ahead and Mike, how many? Let's talk about the number one first round draft picks for the Steelers since 1970. Terry Bradshaw, Tim Worley. I think he was number 9.
Seventh. He was seventh. Yeah, seventh.
Okay, so now there's only one more.
Okay.
So we'll turn the question into this because it's obviously wrong. I know Tim Worley was a top 10 pick. So, okay, so here we go, Mike. Who is the only other player who was picked inside the top 10 for the Steelers other than those players? Mike, it would be more recent, obviously. Question of the day, who is the player that we're missing that was picked inside the top 10 since 1970? Terry Bradshaw in 1970 was number 1. Tim Worley was number 7 in 1989. Devin Bush was a number 10, but he was a trade up.
Yeah.
Mike, who was the only other player since 1970 that Steelers drafted in the first round inside the 10th pick? Is the question of the day. Now that it's overly complicated.
Yeah. So the only other player drafted inside the top 10 since then, I'm going to go with So Ben was 11. We traded up for Troy, I think, at 11 as well, or outside of the top 10. Plex was up high. Troy. I'm going to go with Troy Edwards.
Troy Edwards?
Troy Edwards, wide receiver.
All right. And is this your final answer?
Final answer.
All right. Let me lock into place. All right. You're locked in, Mike.
Yeah.
Question of the day. First round, inside the 10th pick, Mike, Terry Bradshaw. 1970. 1989, Tim Worley. One other player since 1970 was drafted within those first 10 picks, Mike. You say Troy Edwards.
Yeah.
And that's your final answer.
Final answer.
All right, guys. So the guys were Terry Bradshaw, 1970. Tim Worley, 1989. And Mike, finally, in the year 2000, the other player was, of course, on the number 8th pick overall, Plexico Burress.
Oh, it's the following year. Plexico. Dang it.
So there you go. Okay, you got the buzzer. But it wasn't a bad guess, though. As you were talking it out, you had the answer. You
I had the
Plexico
answer,
Burress
but
at one point.
when was Troy drafted? I got to look this up. It's going to bug me.
Troy was the late 90s.
He was the year before. Why can't I find his draft spot? Well, Plexico, killing me.
So there you go, guys. That is the trivia of the day. Just three naturally drafted within the first 10 picks for the Steelers since the 1970 season. Terry Bradshaw, 1970. Tim Worley, he did it in the number 7 spot overall in 1989. And Plexico Burress, again, 2000, selected 8th overall. So it's kind of an impressive feat, right?
Yeah.
I mean, only have 3 picks inside the top 10.
Yeah, and still have that kind of
60 years.
Yeah.
Is that 60 years already? Yeah, I guess with the Super Bowls, it would be 60. Oh, yeah. Crazy, man.
Yeah, Troy Edwards, he was 13th. 13th.
Yeah, that sounds right.
He had 98 he was drafted. His rookie year was 99. He had a really good rookie year and then just fell off.
Yeah, he was tough to start out, man. No two words.
Yeah. I thought him, Plex, and Hines Ward would be a great 1, 2, 3.
Well, that was a part of the problem. Matter of fact, because they were young.
Yeah.
And I remember the announcer one time because they were just dropping balls. This might have been really early in Plexico's maybe his rookie year.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember the guys, they were sitting on the sideline. It was after a bad game. And Hines Ward had his hat on straight. And Troy Edwards had it on backwards. And Plex had it on sidewards. And the announcer goes, and this is why, or he goes, maybe if the Steelers, would worry about things besides turning your hat sideways. In other words, basically saying, go out and play good football, opposed to worrying about all the BS. They were on the sidelines, walking around looking a certain way instead of, in fact, having a good game, because it was a terrible game. I remember Plex was still dropping a lot of passes, and even Hines Ward, I think, was dropping passes. But they had said, this is the problem. These guys need to straighten it out, figure out what they're doing. And the 3 of them should have been really good, Mike. No two ways about it.
Well, yeah, 2 out of 3 won Super Bowls.
Yeah, they sure did.
Yeah.
Tortilla Jackson says, I'm not even sure. I'm going Rashad. That Rashad Mendenhall was his pick. Yinzer Joe said Mel Blount. And then also, when all else fails, I just guessed Rashad, yeah.
Poor Rashad.
Yinzer Joe asked, Mike, WrestleMania, is that this weekend?
I think so.
Wow.
I'm not sure. It's coming up. Yeet.
Yeah, some yeet. We get to get a little yeet, yeet action.
Whichever Uso that is.
That's Jay.
Sure. I don't know. Again, Samoans apparently. I can't. This one, they're twins. I can't tell them apart.
Dummy.
That's not the skullet talking. That's just my dumbass brain talking. They're twins.
Like anything if we do start getting ready to wrap things up for today, brother?
No, my God, man, we covered everything, man. We got it all. I got nothing, man. You hit it all.
One thing I do want to say is there is a Hershey movie being made. Mike, parts of it are going to be shot here in Pittsburgh. Of course, you know that Hershey is in the middle of the state.
Mm-hmm.
So people that maybe aren't making that connection, they see, oh well, this is that's kind of a Pittsburgh. Yeah, Hershey is not a Pittsburgh thing. It's actually way probably closer to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But Mike, there is a Hershey movie, a film, and they will be doing some of the taping right here in Pittsburgh.
Nice. I do have a little teaser though, Ryan. I forgot. Earlier today, I did a mock draft, involving a trade of TJ Watt, and I'm gonna throw that up on the over on the old blog over at the Two Dumb Yinzers. So check it out later today.
Yinzer just saying, yes, WrestleMania is this Saturday.
Saturday, Sunday, right? Yeah, still 2 nights.
Runs a whole weekend, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Mike, one other thing I did want to mention,
in.
Marc-Andre Fleury, guys. One other note, he got his 70th overtime win over the past week, which is the most ever by any goalie in the NHL. 70 overtime wins, Marc-Andre Fleury. Still getting it done, Mike.
Yep.
Wish we had a guy of that caliber.
I know.
You know. Yeah.
Derpy in the Chocolate Factory.
Are you implying that he's an Oompa Loompa?
He's an Oompa Loompa intern. He hasn't reached that status yet.
He's an Oompa Loompa intern. And if you get a chance, go check out the show that Mike and Derpy did Saturday. They did do a mock draft. A lot of fun, very entertaining. And Derpy, he was Derpy and he was wandering off. Couldn't keep up with them. A lot of good stuff, guys. So
What about this guy?
What's that? Yeah.
What about this guy?
What about this guy? What did he do last year? What about that guy? What about this guy? And then after that got old for him, he started to disappear. Went to eat, started watching bowling, all this other kind of fun stuff. So go check that out, guys. That is right here on the network, right here on YouTube. Go check out. That is from Saturday night. But Mike, we will be back tomorrow to talk about all kind of stuff. We're going to keep on this Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback hunt, trying to figure out what it is we're going to do. We're just 10 days away, guys, from the draft. It's coming up. It will be here next week. We got the Pirates back in action today, Paul Skeens Day, so you might want to pay attention to that. Again, the hockey team, or Penguins, won't be back in action until tomorrow, Thursday. I'm sorry, but when they are back, that is going to be the end, Mike. That's it for hockey season.
Yeah.
Baseball is going to be going long and strong through the summer, but we do have a lot of football that helps us get through it as well, Mike. So a lot of things to go over tomorrow. We got our new computer system. I'm so fired up, Mike. We're going to be able to do so much more with the system that we have now. I'm super pumped up. A lot of good things happening, and of course, let's see if this can happen tomorrow, Mike. I think it could be a lot of fun.
Derpy.
There we go.
Derpy.
So now I could even mess with that. I got everything ready for Derpy. He's going to be back tomorrow. Maybe Finch. I don't know what Finch's schedule is. He'll be here at some point, but I do believe Finch, Derpy will be here tomorrow. Most of all, I do want to say thank you to everybody for coming and hanging out and checking us out today. We certainly appreciate each and every one of you. We truly, honestly do. We wouldn't do it without you. Thank you so much. I want to say thank you to everybody on the board. You guys always keep things interesting here on the show. And then everybody at home, maybe you're in the school or in the gym, taking a walk, driving down the road, whatever the case may be. Thank you as well. Mike, I believe that's it for me, my friend. Do you have anything else before we go?
I have nothing else, man. Thank you, everyone, for sticking with us over the weekend, coming back. We appreciate it. And yeah, man, we're bigger and better, baby. We're back bigger.
Yeah, bigger and better. We're gonna have we shouldn't have any more issues like we were having.
Bigger, longer, and uncut.
I so apologize for that mess. We do have it fixed. I do things. So thank you so much for everybody, and thank you for the kind words and the feedback as well.
Yep.
It certainly goes a long way on our end. Thank you so much. But as I said, guys, we'll be back tomorrow at our regular time to do it all over again for Tuesday. Mike, again, 10 days away from the draft, so we will be heavily digging and trying to find answers as it gets closer. But guys, we hope that you have the greatest Monday ever. Enjoy wrestling. Get ready because as I'm learning on the board, WrestleMania is this weekend. Get caught up with your wrestling. But guys, we will see everybody back regular time tomorrow. Everybody have a great day. For Mike in the autistic Central Mobile Studio, and myself and the Two Dumb Yinzers, everybody have a great day. We'll see you in the morning. Bye-bye.
Steel boots stomping, crashing the floor. Two wild Yinzers kicking through the door. Loud like a jag off at a Penske fight. Brace yourself, this ride ain't polite. Two dumb Yinzers.